Once upon a time, there was a little princess who lived in a castle. She was engaged to this prince from the next kingdom over. A very snooty, crummy person. But she didn't notice, because she was a pretty crummy person herself. One day, as she was walking around her kingdom, thinking of new, cruel, and unusual things she could do to her peasants and whatever stray cat might cross her path, she wandered into the kingdom forest. The forest was dark and thick, precisely the sort of place one would expect to find a unicorn, and she got lost. She searched for a way out for hours, trying to backtrack the way that she came, and when that didn't work, she tried to push out the other way. But that didn't work. She searched and searched for a way out of the forest. Still searching, and searching some more, until she came upon a small stream and started to follow it. She was unaware of any stream in her kingdom, but that didn't really matter because streams go somewhere, and somewhere is a big improvement over nowhere. She followed it until she stumbled upon a peasant boy, about her age. She screamed at this boy, demanding to know why he wasn't working, and insisting that if he didn't go back to work, wherever that was, and would he please tell her where that was, she would have him executed. The boy told the princess that this is where he often came to escape the troubles of reality. He said it so sweetly and confidently. Much too confident for a peasant, because peasants were stupid and weak and mostly incapable of emoting dispositions like sweetness due to the fact that they smelled like fish and shit. That she was taken aback. She regained her posture and told him that she was serious about having him executed. The boy looked up at her, smiled, and reminded the princess that she was lost, and until she found her way home, his head would stay right where it was. If only the princess had a sword or something otherwise sharp, she would have lopped it off herself right then and there. She didn't. So his stupid head stayed on his stupid neck. But the princess didn't worry about that too much. That would require thinking about someone else, and all of her talents were concentrated on areas pertaining to herself. So she began thinking about her hunger instead. I recently described the princess as little, and that was a lie. The princess's girth was quite vast. Rotund, I think the kids are calling it these days. As if the boy was reading her mind, he offered her what little food he had, which was a packet of cookies and a bag of Skittles. Taste the rainbow. The boy said very little, but he was never hostile to her. The more she talked, the more he listened. And she liked that. She liked it because it appeased her narcissistic nature. Her fiancé, the prince, never appeased her narcissism. He had too much of his own to bother with anybody else's. Through a fondness for herself, she found a fondness for this boy. As an ear, he was simply an extension of her mouth. She talked and talked and talked and talked and talked until the small amount of sky that was showing through the canopy turned dark and she ran out of things to say. The boy took the princess's hand and led her home. At the palace gates, the princess told the boy she would see him soon, and turned and went into the castle. Weeks went by, and then months. The princess forgot about the boy, and what goodness she learned from the boy was forgotten with him. She became crueler and nastier to her subjects as her wedding day approached. One day, she found herself lost in the forest once again. Once again, she found the stream, and eventually, once again, found the boy. Once again, they talked and laughed, and her cruel nature subsided very quickly. Once again, the sky grew dark, and the boy led her home once again. Once again, once again, once again, as the weeks passed, she forgot about the boy, and grew nastier and nastier as her wedding date approached. About a month before the wedding, a day came when the princess's hair would not cooperate as it usually did to her satisfaction. The princess went into hysterics, and her fiancé did not like this. The noise was distracting, and he had a good deal of narcissisting to do that day. He shouted at her. She shouted at him. He beat her. She wept. At that point, the princess knew that she did not love him, and never did. She ran out of the castle, and once again got lost in the woods. Once again, she found the stream and followed it. And once again, the boy was waiting there. The humiliated princess ran up to the boy and threw her arms around him, sobbing, telling him how much she hated her life, how much she hated her fiancé, and how much she hated being hated. She surprised herself at that last hate, and to keep him from pondering it too much and thinking her three-dimensional, she kissed him. The only emotion the princess ever knew was cruelty. But love was buried deep inside of her, and now it filled her like a volcano frothing at the mouth. The princess burst, and she had the boy fuck her from behind. That she didn't like it much. She was used to being dominant as a cruel and nasty princess, so they tried other, less compromising positions. As they lay together in the forest, a twig cracked. Seize him! The princess's fiancé had followed her, sporting no fewer than a dozen guards. They grabbed the boy from under her and dragged him off. The princess stood there, naked and crying as she looked up at her fiancé from on top of his high horse, who looked down at her with disgust. And then he sped away through the forest. Wasting no time, not even to gather her clothes, the naked princess ran after them once again, through the forest, and back to the castle, just in time to see the guillotine drop on her forest lover. She went into shock. A month later, the princess married her fiancé. Her shock turned to numbness, mostly absent from the world, and for a few years she presided over her kingdom in silence. But years have a way of destroying memories, and things returned to normal. She lived her life, cruel, nasty, and miserable, as the queen of a tyrant, because that's how things go in real life. Good people die. Things are never fair. And love does not conquer all. For life is often a crueler tyrant than kings.